Hi, everybody. It is Stick to Wrestling. It is a live edition of Stick to Wrestling on YouTube and on X. Joe Murray is with me for our annual WWE Royal Rumble preview. It is the 2025 version of the Royal Rumble. It is on Saturday night. Joe, how are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm here for the betting odds. That's why I'm really here. But I'm excited for this one, Jay Stu. Obviously, I think a lot of people come back around, right, to Royal Rumble, which is the beginning of the road to WrestleMania. So I'm back in, but this one should be really good this year.
It should be. And the two Rumble matches, right now they have 4 matches announced, 2 Rumble matches, a 2 out of 3 falls tag team championship match with DIY against the Motor City Machine Guns. I want to start with the WWE championship match between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. It's a ladder match. I think Cody retains, and I think it's because there are more intriguing matchups for Cody at WrestleMania than there would be for Kevin Owens. But what I get stuck on, Joe, is the Elimination Chambers in Toronto. And they could do Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn at the Rogers Center, at the Blue Jays baseball ballpark. And I just have that envision stuck in my mind. But I don't know how you take the title off of Cody at this point.
So I love the angle right now that Kevin Owens is playing. It's a great heel angle. It's very old school. The old Dusty sucks eggs, Cody sucks eggs, son of a plumber. He's excellent. And I do think that the go home or whatever we saw recently with Shawn Michaels he said he was jealous. You know, he called him jealous. I'm just giving, there you go. Oh, we're empty. I was giving the janitor the trash barrel. This is live play-by-play here.
Yeah.
I love what Kevin Owens is doing. And he's at the height of his heel level. I'm talking Stone Cold Steve Austin WrestleMania level. Like he's there. In a way, I would love the swerve of him holding both championships, right? The Winged Eagle. So long story short, I think there's a chance Kevin Owens could win this thing. But I just feel like it's too close to Mania and they won't do it. But if there's anyone on a up and to the right stock, it's most definitely Kevin Owens.
There are a couple different variables to this match. One is The Rock, I still think, is looming somewhere, right? So there's the Rock element, which we'll talk more about The Rock a little bit later on. There's Sami Zayn and his potential involvement in the match. There's the potential return of Randy Orton that's looming over the Royal Rumble match. So it's the Chambers in Toronto, Joe. I still can't get past that, like, headlining, and maybe it's Cody versus Sami, and that's where I can't. But Sami would be a villain unless they turn. Like, there's a couple different elements to it. But I just think if this were a different time, a different place, that Kevin Owens would win here. I do wonder, because Triple H is all about long-term storytelling. That's his creative staff is all about long-term creative storytelling. If what they are teasing now isn't a setup for next year. So in other words, the Royal Rumble's in Saudi Arabia next year. Sami Zayn wins the Rumble in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Kevin Owens is the champion at the time next year's Royal Rumble happens in Saudi Arabia. And they end up doing Sami versus Kevin Owens, not at WrestleMania this year in Vegas, not at the Sky Dome in Toronto, but next year, and I think they're going to announce 42 is in New Orleans. And that's the long-term play.
So I like that. And listen, there's a lot of long-term. But one of the reasons why I really am into WWE right now is their storytelling. How many times have you heard Cody Rhodes talk about Randy Orton and his mentor? And one of the biggest things when it comes to Kevin Owens is how he turns on his friends. Is there an opportunity here where Owens is up on the rise? Here comes Randy Orton and ruins it really for Cody, and it's a disqualification. And then I just feel like they can't have They just can't have Kevin Owens get pinned. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
However,
in a ladder match, Joe, that's kind of hard.
well, I understand that they put, but what I'm saying is they can't make it look bad. Do you know what I'm saying? I understand that someone's got to go up and grab both titles. I get it. My point, I know.
That's Angry Joe. That's the Angry Joe I wanted.
There's a ladder match. They got to go up there and get it. I just feel like Randy Orton's presence will be in this, and it can't make Sami Zayn. I'm getting them all mixed up. It can't make Kevin Owens look weak. He's so strong right now, and the biggest thing to get in the way of it could be Randy Orton. That's where I'm going with it. Randy Orton could get in the middle of it, and somehow, some way, I think I agree with you. Long story short here is I agree with you. I think Cody goes into Mania with the belt.
It's
in a ladder match.
In a ladder match.
That gets pinned. Thank you.
All good, Joe. So we agree it's Cody. There are endless possibilities for Cody, but I did enjoy the promo with Punk, where Punk is foreshadowing potentially a Cody villain turn.
Yep.
Where he's like, yeah, around the 300-day marker, I got kind of burned out. Around the 300-day marker, CM Punk hooked up with Paul Heyman on screen for that original 434-day title run of CM Punk. DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns. This will be an amazing 2 out of 3 falls match, and the crowd won't care. Because as much as I love Ciampa and Gargano, and I appreciate the Motor City Machine Guns, I think the crowd is there to see who wins the men's rumble and to see if Cody retains in the ladder match. And that's not their fault. They're all talented. Hopefully the match will get the crowd into it. But, these guys are going to kill themselves and it's going to be great. And I think DIY will retain and the crowd won't care. And that's unfortunate.
The Motor City Machine Guns do nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. I don't care about them whatsoever. I don't care about their return. I don't even think that they should lose the deal. My whole thing is, when's Ciampa going to turn? Right? When's that thing going to happen? When are we going to get that? Because you know what? In a way, remember a few years ago, the night before WrestleMania, New Orleans, Ciampa Gargano was just elite at that point. So really, Motor City Machine, nothing to me. This is still about Gargano, Ciampa, and we're always waiting for the turn. I'm still waiting for it. So maybe we get that. I don't know, because if that's how you change the championship on a turn, fine. But I agree with you. I think Ciampa's done really well, to be honest with you. I know that he's had to be Mrs. Sidekick and go back to Gargano. And, hey, this happened with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens back early on, too. So that's the play, but keep a title on him. But, man, Jimmy, I can't remember a tag team that I felt like this about the Young Bucks early on. I would watch them and they did nothing for me. I had to see them live. So maybe that's what I need out of Motor City. To me, I change the channel when they're on.
That's strong. That's what I'm here for. Gargano and Ciampa are just getting started on their run. I think they're going to have a great run. I hope they have a great run. I think the reason why you're not invested in the Motor City Machine Guns is, what's the story with them? And if you haven't followed their career on different various stops, you don't know. This is a bit of a sidetrack, and I'll keep it brief. One of the reasons why, allegedly, they never did Hogan versus Flair at WrestleMania 8 is because when they tried it out on the house shows, it didn't draw the way that they thought it would, the way that internally they thought it would draw. And so they went by the house show numbers and were like, oh, I guess nobody cares about Ric Flair because, and at the time it was different. We didn't have access to everything, but Ric Flair wasn't the draw that the WWF audience wanted to see. And that's why they pivoted off of that. That's what I think. But had they given them a good story, the Real World Championship, which was based in reality, but the WWF fan didn't care because they were too worried about, here comes the oversized villain against Hulk Hogan, or here comes the luster against, Randy Savage, all that.
I feel like the division, the tag team division's probably for another night, but that thing's gonna get beefed up. Maybe it's the New Day doing their thing right now, or whatever. But I would like to see the division beefed up a little bit.
The New Day eventually will unthrone the War Raiders. And
by the
I was
way,
happy.
They looked solid last night. I thought
The War Raiders are great. If you haven't seen them, they're local guys.
New Hampshire.
Yep, they're local guys. They're great guys. They worked all the independents around here, and the crowd on Raw got with the match. I don't think they cared to begin. I think by the end of it, they're like, "Oh, this is good." But I think the villain New Day are gonna upend the War Raiders at some point, whatever that is. But
they're doing well. I got to admit, Xavier was there. But just back to the War Raiders when they were the War Beards, I think it was, or I forget what they were years ago.
They were the Viking Raiders. They were the War Raiders in WWE NXT, and then they got to Raw and SmackDown, and
I didn't realize the athletic ability of is it Ivar? Which I can't remember which one.
They're both super athletic for their size.
That big boy, man, he can move.
They can all move. The actual Rumbles themselves. Let's start with the women's match.
Yes.
So far, they have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 officially announced. I think Charlotte wins this thing. I think that's a simple path to Charlotte versus Tiffany at WrestleMania, which is, I think, a match that has been kind of in the works for a while. I would have Jordynne Grace win this thing, and I would have her win so that it establishes to this audience, and the NXT audience kind of knows her. WWE has a cross promotion with Impact. Jordynne Grace is officially signed to a WWE contract. I don't know the details of whether she's NXT or whether she's Raw or SmackDown. Maybe they're still trying to figure that out. But if you want to establish Jordynne Grace as a newcomer to WWE, have her win, and it establishes her as a big deal, a major player, and she can get in there and she can either challenge Tiffany or she can challenge Rhea. It doesn't matter, because that match on whatever night of WrestleMania it is going to be quality. But I do think Charlotte wins, and I think the final four, Joe, are going to be Charlotte, Becky, Bianca Belair, and Jordynne Grace.
I like your Jordynne Grace angle. I saw that she did sign with WWE today. So Charlotte Flair is the favorite, everybody. She's minus 200, which is a pretty strong favorite. Followed by Bianca Belair at plus 175. Then it's Io Sky. And, I could see her getting that type of push. But then it goes to who you think. Becky Lynch is on the list. Liv Morgan. Jordynne Grace is 33-1 odds. So that's pretty high odds. Jade Cargill would be interesting to me. I don't know if they could do it on she's been out. Naomi, no. Nia Jax is always a wild card. Asuka, I don't know what her injury status is.
She'll be back for the Rumble, supposedly. I think I saw that on the interwebs.
I think if they go, it's like you mentioned, Charlotte winning. That's them having somebody win that really wasn't, what's the word? Performing day. I know she was hurt, but I feel like the winner of the Rumble generally should be somebody that's been one of their best workers, right? Like Bayley last year,
Well, then you would have disqualified Cody from winning it before Los Angeles.
You're right. So there you go. So, I mean, there's your trend of, hey, they don't have to have that. So
there is a theory, though, Joe, that Bianca Belair would win because she didn't get to win in front of a live audience in 2020.
Alexa Bliss, I don't know what's going on with her.
She's in a contract dispute, supposedly.
Okay.
That's what the interwebs tell me.
Could Ronda Rousey make an appearance?
Yes.
Okay. Rhea Ripley hinted at being in the Rumble. What was all that about?
So it could be that in the same way that Brock Lesnar did this, 2020, I think it was. It was the year McIntyre won. So it must have been 2020, where Brock did this as the champion, went in there at number 1 and just eliminated 14 dudes. And I think the plan was then it was the ultimate start tease to put 2 belts together. Or did they have 2 belts? They might not have had 2 belts, but it was something for Brock to do that was different. The theory with the Rumble is it's a new match every 2 minutes or 90 seconds. So it got Brock in there with everybody. And I have a theory on this for the men's match that might make a lot of sense when we get there. So that's 2 things that I've teased: the Rock's involvement and my number 1 entrant theory, and who I think that should be. But so Joe, who do you think wins the women's match, and who would be your final 4? Or I should say, who do you think will win? Who do you want to win, and who do you think your final 4 will be?
So I it's weird, but I want to go back to Bayley for some reason. I don't know why. Her odds aren't great, but I do have this heavy Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair angle, one of those 2. So I'll go on a limb and say Belair because you say Flair. My final 4 will be Charlotte, Bianca, Bayley, and I'll probably go Io Sky.
And Io Sky is an internet and an internal favorite. She won the Money in the Bank a couple of years ago. She was favored, I think, at one time, whether actually odds makers said it or not, but to win the Intercontinental Championship on the women's side, she did not. So maybe this is her moment, and it would be a surprise winner. There has not been a 2-time Women's Royal Rumble winner yet, which I actually kind of like.
Oh yeah, there's been a 2-time Money in the Bank winner.
Yep, and that was Carmella.
Shout out.
The men's Royal Rumble match, which is what I think everybody is tuning in for. And this Rumble is stacked. This is the most loaded Rumble. And any one of maybe 10 people I could see winning, right? Let's start with John Cena, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, Rey Mysterio, LA Knight, Shinsuke Nakamura, Logan Paul, Penta, Chad Gable, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes are all announced for the match. There is an internet theory that The Rock will return and be entrant number 31. So he's looming over this match, and I have questions relating to The Rock. Let me just give you my winner. I think it's going to be Cena or Punk winning. I think the easiest path here is you have CM Punk win the Rumble. And my final 4, Cena, Punk, Rollins, Roman Reigns. What says you, Joe Murray?
So let me just give you my perfect world scenario here. John Cena wins the Royal Rumble. He challenges Gunther. And I think they build up the chase, Cena going to Ric Flair's record, blah, 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 blah. And in the end, he loses again, and it really puts Gunther over. So in a perfect world, I think that's what happens. But I'm going to give you my winner. And I think I'm following a storyline here. And I'll give you the odds in a second, but Solo Sikoa is my pick. He's been off screen, Jimmy. He walked away. We forgot about him. He was in the biggest storyline going for a year. They groomed him. They hyped him up. They made him the tribal chief. Like, he walked away. Where has Solo been? And I just feel like it would be a great time and really mix things up. Solo Sikoa, the Royal Rumble winner.
I like it because it's different. I like it because it's different and it gives Solo something. Solo was really an MVP, and WWE took the summer to build him up. And then when Roman came back, it was all systems go with Solo. So I have a high level of respect for that pick. Let me get back to your Cena point for a second. John Cena, I could see the story playing out where Cena wins. Then he goes back and forth. He comes back at Elimination Chamber and he does the big promo. And that's when he announces that he's going after Cody. And because this has also been gossiped about on the interwebs and in channels. I remember somebody saying to me back in November that the WrestleMania main event in pencil is Cena versus Cody for the WWE title. And I remember being, what? Huh? I'd never thought of it. Cody looks at Cena as a mentor. Cena looks at Cody as, I can lose, or I can win, and Cody comes out of the match better. If I were booking a long-term story and you wanted to have Cena's last year be on title run 17, I could see a story where Cena wins the title. He's wrestling. He's got 35 to 40 dates, and he's wrestling almost every week. Not every week, but he's making appearances to the point where it breaks Cody, and Cody turns out to be a villain. And Cody's the one who sends John Cena into retirement sometime in December. Maybe it's in Boston. And Cena leaves Cody in a better place than he was, and Cena gets to pass the torch to the next guy. And Cody's a villain, and you go from there.
Yeah, I like it. So the odds are John Cena the favorite, even money. Seth Rollins plus 125.
Oh, I like that.
Punk. So, according to Bet Online, the odds are basically even plus 125 plus 150. I mean, that's like tight. You know what I mean? Then it's The Rock. Roman Reigns is 12 to 1. Then it's Sami Zayn is really high on this list. And it would be a huge moment for him, right? It really would be. Breakthrough.
And it would be different. And that's the thing too, is that there is precedent. John Cena did this years ago. He won a Rumble and he's like, yeah, I don't want to use my championship match at WrestleMania. I want to use it at the Elimination Chamber, whatever the next pay-per-view, No Way Out, whatever it was. So maybe Sammy wins the Rumble and he goes, Cody, I want you in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And it would help. It would help stretch what's possible for Mania matches. But Sami Zayn, I think Drew McIntyre. Like if I had to go to a Final Four real quick, the real best on screen people have been Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and I'll probably say Jey Uso. They've probably been the 4 best on screen. I know Sammy's in there too. Jacob Fatu's a real wild card for me, but if I have to pick a winner, it is Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, and beyond Solo, if you wanted to put Jey Uso, having him win the Royal Rumble match, that would be different. That would be great. Jey didn't win on Saturday night's main event against Gunther, but they put him over so strongly that they're like, yeah, Jay's going to be the world champion one day. Maybe it's not at this WrestleMania, but there's a play for it. There's a long-term play. And by the way, Jey Uso is more than just a mascot. That was being played up way too much. Jey is an incredible in-ring performer, and to have commentary be like, oh, he's just a mascot. Like, no, he's not. He's so much better than that. The CM Punk angle, that's the straightest shot for him to get to WrestleMania. There's a theory on the interwebs about Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, challenging Cody, and CM Punk's favor to Paul Heyman is Paul Heyman now puts CM Punk into the match, and it's now a triple threat match. Heyman does whatever he does and does that. There's also the theory that I have thrown out there is, remember the Tumblr thing that they used to do back in the 90s? Is Paul Heyman is representing Roman Reigns and CM Punk in the Royal Rumble draw. He draws number 1. He draws number 30. CM Punk finds out that Paul Heyman has control of number 30. That's the favor. Punk walks in at 30, wins the Rumble with ease. Which the Roman Reigns number 1 thing goes to a theory and an idea that I have for booking the Rumble. And that is Roman Reigns enters the match at number 1. And you have a scenario similar to Brock Lesnar, where Brock starts the Rumble at number 1. And here comes Jey Uso. Here comes Solo Sikoa. Here comes Jacob Fatu. Here comes Sami Zayn. Here comes Drew McIntyre. Here comes Seth Rollins. Here comes, maybe if you want to tease, a Braun Breaker thing. But Roman essentially starts off the match, and you can pick him off against guys who's got beef with Roman Reigns. And that's how you start the match, and maybe Roman makes it to the end. Maybe Roman just tosses people out left and right. You can have that scenario play out. That's the new match every 2 minutes or 90 seconds or whatever. And you can do that. And kind of my last thought, because I know you got to get back to doing Bruins coverage here in a second. The Rock is looming over this company. And so another theory that I want to put out into the universe is The Rock either entering at 31 and winning the thing and going on to challenge Cody or somebody, whoever the champion is? Or does he come out and he cost Roman Reigns the Rumble? And maybe those things are too intertwined. But I don't know. The Rock is looming over this company, and I don't love it. And he felt like kind of a crybaby to me, where he's like, "Oh, you wanted Cody to win the title, and now I'm not going to give you what you want. I beat Cody. I don't have to do anything." So that's kind of my thing. Joe, do you have any surprise odds? Like I see in the chat, Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry was originally scheduled for the Jericho Cruise, and he switched out of it. So Joe Hendry won't be on the Jericho Cruise until Sunday, February 2nd, so that he can be in Indianapolis doing a meet and greet for WrestleCon. So, Joe, any surprises?
On the odds, it's Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Triple H, which isn't happening. But Ethan Page. I'd like to see him in there. But as far as surprise, I always say Matt Cardona every year. What about Jeff Hardy?
The Hardys are in play. The Hardys are definitely in play because of that TNA agreement.
Yeah, so that's one. And then Aleister Black.
That would make sense. Moose from Impact. Okay, yeah. I bet you see Trick Williams in there from NXT.
What about Ricky Starks?
He's still under contract, I think, to AEW.
What about AJ Styles?
He's banged up. So apparently he legitimately banged up his knee in that match with Carmelo Hayes.
How about AJ Lee?
So I have a longer term play for AJ Lee's comeback. And the longer term play is because they already did Rollins versus Punk for Netflix. Somehow you set up WrestleMania, and this is night one's main event. It's Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins against CM Punk and AJ Lee. And now you've had your first ever mixed tag team match as a main event of WrestleMania.
Oh, that'd be great. Where does LA Knight finish in all this?
I don't think you want to talk about mascots. I think they've always viewed LA Knight as a mascot. And the only reason why he got the U.S. title was because the wrong person didn't like Logan Paul's political statements that week. So they sent Logan Paul. They're like, you're dropping the title and you're going to go away for a little bit. Logan Paul might be a sleeper to win the thing because they had him out on the Netflix. They had him out on Raw, and he's in the ring with Gunther, Seth Rollins, talking about championships and being the 30th entrant. And I know that they love Logan Paul and what he can do and the crossover and all that stuff. Logan Paul is a dark horse, Joe.
And they just announced he's going to be taking on his brother in a boxing match. So, imagine if they put like some metal on him,
Oh, of course. Of course. Anything else, Joe Murray, about the Royal Rumble?
I'll just say this. I think wrestling, WWE for that matter, is so watchable for a mainstream sports fan. When you watch the different camera angles, you get Joe Tessitore now. You remember, Jesse the Body Ventura on Saturday night. The last Saturday night's main event was one of the most physical wrestling, one of the most physical episodes of wrestling I've seen in a long time. And I know people always do the AEW versus WWE play. I'm not doing that right now, but I've realized how important storylines are and how it really builds. And, us talking about it, right? Well, this could be the play and that could be the play. In reality, there's going to be 30 men and 30 women that they feel is deserving to be in the match, and they'll script it out and it will be predetermined. But I think in the end, we're going to be entertained. And there is some wild cards. Like you said, Logan Paul could be a wild card. The Rock could be a wild card. And with the women's side of it, I think it's wide open. So I'm excited, man. And I think they really did build up that Cody versus Kevin Owens to the point where I really feel like it's a WrestleMania type event match.
Card placement will be important. There are 4 matches scheduled. And the order of that match, the order of the show may or may not tell you what's going to happen throughout the night. If they open up with Owens and Cody, that might tell you something. If they open up with the men's Royal Rumble, that might tell you something.
What do you
There
think?
are layers. What do I think?
What do you think opens it?
I think they have the women's Rumble open it. I think they have the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY go second. I think they do the men's Rumble. And then I think they do the ladder match to end the show.
I like that.
I think that's how they do it.
That will let me get a breather in after the women's rumble. Why do I hate them so much? I was like this with the Young Bucks too. I think I mentioned that, but
I think you would have liked the Motor City Machine Guns maybe like 10 years ago, maybe. But they don't have a story in WWE, and that's like Penta comes on the scene with all this buzz, all this hype, and they give him an immediate story. And if they get to WrestleMania and it's Penta versus Braun Breaker, that's amazing. That's a match that I never knew that I needed, but I need it.
Can I get your TNA take? Because my take on it is a lot of the contracts that WWE had, now that they have this big Netflix deal, well, they don't want to lose those deals and give them up. So I think that's why they partnered with TNA. But I don't know, is TNA a development ground? Is it still NXT? Like, I really like the move, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but I also feel like it takes opportunities away from the competition.
I think WWE partnered up with TNA, Impact, whatever it is now, because Vince is looming to buy it.
Wow. Okay, I did not. Okay, that's a good take.
I think Vince McMahon is looming to get back into the entertainment world, and he's got the money where he's got the money. Impact TNA has the distribution. He buys it, and now he looks at the landscape and goes, I know this person's loyal to me. I know this person's loyal to me. I can bring in and I can see what I can do. And oh, by the way, I've got connections still with Fox TV. Because there are people who, despite all of Vince's flaws, are still loyal to Vince McMahon. And so if Vince buys Impact, buys TNA, they'll go work for Vince.
Never thought of that. I was always thinking it was to take away from AEW.
Well, AEW had a chance to a few years ago, and they chose not to. They chose to partner up with New Japan or just buy their talent.
Interesting. Vince McMahon's always in the background, huh?
He is. He's looming over things like The Rock is looming over the Royal Rumble match.
I'm excited, man. This is a big
it'll
one.
Be fun.
And it's road to WrestleMania
in Vegas, and we're putting together our plan for Vegas, so we're all good. Joe, you got to get going because the second period just ended, and but thanks for hopping on here. Appreciate you, Joe. The Royal Rumble.
One day we're gonna wrestle for the belts, and then I'm gonna pin you after.
No. There are too many of my belts. You'd have to collect them all, and I'm not doing 35 jobs for you. I'll do 2. All right, Joe Murray from Over Under and the Sports Hub at Night. Thank you so much. My name is James Stewart. Enjoy your wrestling, and I'll be back with a Stick to Wrestling recap on Sunday.